I got a really cool story for you today. Albert Einstein. We all know who Albert Einstein was. He was a genius and contributor to this world. Lots of innovations and a real inspiration to a lot of people moving forward. Albert Einstein in third grade was sitting in class, and his teacher walked over to him at the end of class and handed him an envelope. It was sealed, and inside it was, he could feel it was pretty heavy paper. The teacher had written a note and said, uh, young Albert, I'd like you to take this home to your mother tonight. When you go home, don't open it. This is for her. This is teacher to parent. He said, okay, Mrs. Teacher. And so he went home. Albert Einstein it was written that he was pretty close to his mom. She worked two jobs, so she did not get home that evening until late. He'd already had dinner, studied whatever it was young Albert Einstein did. We'd like to believe that he sat in the lab at third grade, but I doubt that was true. He probably played with some toys. He handed this letter sheepishly to his mom and said, Mom, my teacher handed me this and told me not to read it and give it to you. So she says, Albert, did you get in trouble? He says, I don't think so. I don't remember doing anything this week. She sat down, exhausted, opened it up, read it, and had tear kind of her eyes welled up. And Albert was just filled with dread. Like, oh, great. What now? This wasn't the first time he had to interact with teacher parent lessons and stuff like that. So she read it. She looked at him, and he could read, but she read it to him. She says, he says, what does it say, Mama? She says, son, your teacher has said you are extraordinarily brilliant. You're gifted. You have a gift, and that you are going to go on to do incredible, great things that it's unimaginable what you might actually achieve from this point. But she says here that she knows it is possible and probably likely. Well, he didn't know what half of that meant. That was a lot of big talk, but he kind of welled up, and at least he wasn't about to get his ass beat. So he was grateful, and that was it. So he went on. He became who he was becoming, and around 32 years later, his mom died. So he was probably early mid 40s, and he very close to his mom, and he was going through her things, her estate, and going through letters like that, and knickknacks and belongings and pictures and things like that. And he came across this envelope in with a lot of other paperwork and opened it up, and he almost immediately recognized what it was. It was from his teacher. So he read it, and it read, Mrs. Einstein, your son has a mental illness. It's very troubling how hard it might be in life for him to achieve anything. I don't know that he belongs in this class. He might need help adjusting to life and preparing for what's ahead of him outside of this class, but he's not well. What happened there? His mom, whether she believed it or not, whether she thought it was true or not, knew that she had an obligation to fill her son with hope, and it wasn't going to do him any good, whether that was true or not, which it ended up not being true. It was just a miscalibration or miscalculation of the teacher's point. She didn't read the room. She wasn't prepared to. He may have had extraordinary, odd, quirky talents that couldn't be recognized, but his mom's job was to be a mom and a parent and help her son do the best he could with what he had. And she chose positive. She chose to give a white lie. We ask, are white lies good? If it saves from having harm? Yeah. So she probably contributed, probably in 1,000 other different ways, but she contributed to his success, his fulfillment, and then she contributed to the gift of the world that we got for him at third grade, at probably 8 years old, 9 years old, not feeling like he was a failure because someone else did not recognize him, was not smart enough, or compassionate enough to look at things through a different lens. Had it been a different story, what would this world be like? What would be some of our scientific innovations have been like? Where would we be as a world? We all have that opportunity. If you're a parent, if you're an employer, if you have coworkers or people that report to you, you don't have to chew ass all the time. You can actually choose to say, what if I'm wrong? What if this person is having a bad day and just not did not hit the mark? How about I ask why that child did what they did instead of scolding them for doing it? I don't think kids inherently want to do wrong. They're just bored. They're lashing out. They're emotionally unprepared for what they're facing. Who knows? But I think we have an obligation and an opportunity. And I'm grateful every day that we have that opportunity to not be who our parents were, not do things that maybe society puts on us to do. So hope that little lesson was as awesome for you as it was for me. The first time I heard it, I'd heard it years ago, and just came back up today. Who knows why? In my daily journaling, I wrote it. I'm really grateful. I'm doing a cohort right now with some junior leaders, and I shared this story with them. We have our cohort on Wednesdays, but on Mondays, I give them a reflection point. I give them a nudge, and I shared this story with them so they can come into Wednesday's cohort um, with that maybe top of mind, and maybe we'll discuss it. So, thanks everyone. Talk soon.